What's going on YouTube and welcome to Courtside today with your host Sepunao Sartan. The topic of today's video will be Jerami Grant and possible trade destinations for the Blazers forward. I think the Portland Trailblazers should be looking to move off of him despite recent reports that they won't be actively looking to trade him. Why? I've explained in a recent article that you can check on my site, thecourtsidenews.com. Before we head into the video, please leave a like and subscribe as it helps the channel out a lot. So the first destination I have in mind for Jerami Grant right now is a pretty obvious one, and it's the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks are in play for a forward. They are looking for one, actively looking for one that can play the power forward role. But Jerami Grant can play the power forward role and also the small forward role, which can help them in both facets of the game when they want to play him next to Derrick Jones Jr. as a power forward or next to Grant Williams as a small forward. So that can really help them out a lot. They also have the contracts to match Grant's salary. Between Maxi Kleber, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Richaun Holmes, they can easily make a package work for Jerami Grant if they really want him. Now, the problem with the Dallas Mavericks is that they don't really have assets. They have one first round pick to trade in 2027. It can be unprotected, and it might be a pretty okay pick, but I don't think it will turn out to be really good as Luka is there and they're really building something for the future there now with Derek Lively. But it's still a pick. It's still a pick. And alongside Olivier Maxence Prosper, who they selected in the first round of this year, who hasn't played much this year, they could make a package that's already a good starting price. Now, I feel like Olivier Maxence Prosper and a first round pick is a good starting point for Jerami Grant. It might need some additional tweaks to the package. Let's say a third team takes on Dante Exum because they have real interest in his guard defense. I don't know if the Dallas Mavericks are willing to let him go, but if they are, some teams might really be interested in Dante Exum, especially like the Milwaukee Bucks, let's say. They would be really interested in him. So if they could get assets for Dante Exum to send to Portland additionally, that would be great for them. If not, if they can find a team to take on Tim Hardaway Jr., and they're willing to give up assets instead of the Blazers taking that on, that would also be more in favor of the Blazers, but because I don't think that the Blazers right now want Tim Hardaway Jr. on the books for another 2 years at $17 million a year. For the Blazers, they get a young forward and they get a first round pick for Jerami Grant. They re-signed him in the summer, I think, to trade him, really. I don't think they really want to keep him when it's a rebuild going on. Scoot Henderson is far from ready. Shaden Sharp is far from ready. Anthony Simons is far from ready. They don't have role players yet who are ready. So they don't really want to keep him, I think, unless they are kind of delusional and want to accelerate the timeline, which is unnecessary right now. I think they need to get young talent and they need to get young forwards and picks. Now, Olivier Maxence Prosper, I haven't seen a lot of him. We all haven't seen a lot of him because he hasn't played a lot of NBA minutes. But he's a young forward and he might be a project that the Blazers are willing to take on. And alongside that first round pick, they might say, okay, that's valuable. And then there are also 2 second-round picks that the Dallas Mavericks have, and then maybe with some additional assets, they come to a package that they can all agree on. And I don't think it will be the worst for the Blazers. It will finally be a clear direction to finally start rebuilding. And of course, for the Dallas Mavericks, I think Jerami Grant will make them a contender. They really need that forward that can score right now, and Derrick Jones Jr. and Grant Williams aren't quite that. And Jerami Grant is a really good player. You can throw in the ball in ISO, even though he's not the best in ISO, but he's really good catch and shoot player. He's a really good shooter, and I think he also really fits well in that front court. I think he can fit really well next to DJJ as the 4, providing more shooting that DJJ doesn't really do at a consistent basis or at the high volume. And then he can also play next to Grant Williams at the 3 in lineups where they have a bit more point of attack defense, probably with Dante Exum if they don't give him up in that trade. If they have a really point of attack defender, because I don't want Jerami Grant to be the point of attack defender. I've never wanted him to be that. He's an okay off-ball defender, okay helper, but I don't want him to be the primary on-ball defender when you can have Dante Exum of Derrick Jones Jr. guarding him. So in lineups where he's the 3, I would put it. So in lineups where he's the small forward, I would put Dante Exum with him if he's still there by the time this trade might get done. Moving on to the next team, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, I know what you're immediately gonna say. Why on earth would the Memphis Grizzlies trade for Jerami Grant right now when Ja Morant is out for the season, Desmond Bane is out for an extended amount of time, and Marcus Smart is also out for 6 weeks? Well, because Jerami Grant is under contract for 5 years and they wouldn't be making the move for right now. they will be making the move because if they like Jerami Grant, they don't want him to go to Dallas. They don't want him to go to another team. Now, I think he fits well with the Memphis Grizzlies because John Moran really needs that spacing and shooting that Jerami provides to get to the rim at a high level and finish there. But the thing that kind of worries me is the rebounding. In the lineups that JJJ will play the 5 and Jerami Grant will play the 4, those lineups might get out rebounded by quite a margin because Jerami Grant is not the greatest rebounder. JJJ isn't either when he's playing at center. He's a good rebound for a power forward, but not really for a center. You really want a bruiser type, and that doesn't really fit well with the type of defense that he plays. But I still think he fits really well, and they would do this move for the future, for next year, to get ahead of the Dallas Mavericks, to not let him get there. Now I think it fits, but they also have the assets to get it done. If they want to move off Marcus Smart, which I would do because I don't ever think that lineup is going to work with John Morant and Marcus Smart, those two in the backcourt with Desmond Bane, I don't think that lineup is ever going to work. So I will move off Marcus Smart right now at the deadline, try and get some assets. They can move him for some extra assets going to Portland and get Jerami Grant. But they also have their own. They can move off Zaire Williams and finally pull the plug on that project that hasn't really been working for the past years. And now with the emergence maybe of Gigi Jackson, who had one really good game, but you know, in the NBA you really need to prove it on a more consistent basis. They might be looking to move off of him right now to get some real star power in Jerami Grant, who is a 20-point per game scorer easily in this league and really helps the offense of the Memphis Grizzlies, something that they have struggled with quite a lot, even though they have had quite good defenses. They also have their full set of picks and additional picks. Their pick this year will be really good. They will tank. It's pretty obvious that they will tank, and then in the summer they can trade that pick or they can use that pick if that's a really talented player that they really like. But they can trade that pick for another star, and they have the salary to match it. They have Steven Adams that they can trade. They have Brandon Clark that they can trade. They have Marcus Smart if they send him out for additional assets. They have Luke Kennard, so they do have the assets to make it work. They have the contracts to make it work. Now, if they want him, they can easily get him this deadline. Whether they want him, that's a different question. They might just want to see it out this season, how it works. Just tank, see how that pick works out, see how Zaire Williams work out, Gigi Jackson, and just work from there, and then go start from not scratch in the summer, but you know, kind of working around John Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr., who are all on big contracts right now. So you have to kind of work around them, see what you can do. So they might just want to push pause on really building a team now and just really go the tank way and then really build a team in the summer. And then finally, we have the Philadelphia 76ers, who of course drafted Jerami Grant, and which is where he spent his first 2 seasons. Now, this trade for the Blazers wouldn't be to acquire a young player. I don't think the Philadelphia 76ers have a young player that the Blazers would really like to acquire, except maybe Paul Reed or Jaden Springer, but he's a guard, so I don't think they really want to go for him. But Paul Reed is a big, so they might want to go for him, and he's a bit younger, so they can go for him. But I think it's mainly for the picks that they acquired via the James Harden trade. They can trade 3 or 4, if I'm not mistaken, and they have some second rounders as well that they acquired from Portland in the Matisse Thybulle trade. So they have the assets to get a Jerami Grant trade done. It's just a question of how many picks do they want. The Blazers want, of course. And for the Philadelphia 76ers, it's a no-brainer. I mean, he's a really great scorer. He can defend way better than Marcus Morris right now, and they have the salary to match it with Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, Robert Covington, Nick Batum, DeAnthony Melton. They're all expiring contracts, which really is a good thing for the Portland Trail Blazers, and it plays in Philly's favor because in comparison to the Dallas Mavericks, for example, those are all long-term contracts. The Memphis Grizzlies as well, Steven Adams, Luke Kennard, Brandon Clark, those are all long-term contracts, 2 or more years. The same thing for the Dallas Mavericks, Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, Richaun Holmes, all long-term contracts. But for the Philadelphia 76ers, they are all expiring. All those guys that I mentioned, they are all on expiring contracts. They can easily match the salary for Jerami Grant. It's just a question of, do they want to give up those picks for Jerami Grant, and does Portland accept it? But it's a no-brainer, man. He fits perfectly. And I think the Philadelphia 76ers right now are really obligated to get Embiid some help. I mean, Tyrese Maxey has been playing really well, but they really need to go all in because Embiid is playing at a phenomenal level. It's absolutely insane what he's doing. 35, 12, and 6, I believe he's averaging with like 2 blocks and a steal. It's absolutely insane. He's been dropping 30s like since the middle of November. He has been dropping 30 points straight without missing a beat. So it's absolutely crazy what he's doing. So they really owe it to him to get him some help, not sit on those 3 picks that they can trade. So that was the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Where do you think Jerami Grant ends up, and what do you think the package will be that the Portland Trail Blazers get in return? I will see you next time. Bye.